let's take a look at the orchestra part at the bassoon solo. You probably recall that Bolero is comprised basically of two melodies. You've got the melody that first enters with the flute in the beginning of the piece, and then you have a counter melody or a second melody that is in the bassoon for the very first time. This B flat, the first note of the bassoon solo, is quite significant because it's in some ways the first time that jarring dissonance or harmony has been brought into the composition. So it's a very special note for us. It is marked mezzo piano in the score, so you should never play this solo too loud. After all, the composition still has many minutes yet to go. But the bassoon part should be expressive, and particularly with that B flat, you do not want to play it too soft, so you want to come in with confidence. This is something that would be very good for you to practice with the metronome and to practice with perhaps the drone that we're going to be talking about a little bit later. But the issue is that you enter on time, in tune, with a really good tone right from the beginning. So that's something where you can take rest, B flat, and just enter on that note each time. Well, let's take a look at the accompaniment here because it does help us determine what drone we would use for working on our intonation in this melody. There are two instruments that enter for the first time here. One is the first flute and the other is the harp. In addition, we've got some other notes given in this case, the violas. The flute enters on a G and continues with that Bolero rhythm, the rhythm we've heard earlier on in the drum in the piece. And the harp then enters with some dissonances, some major seconds. These are harmonic notes here at this point, so it just adds a little bit of spice to what we already have in the harmony. You can see in the strings here, this is the viola part and the cello, we have G's and C's being emphasized, and particularly in the piece you hear C, G, G, C, G, or G. And you get those notes emphasized each time. So you can see that the common pitch throughout all three beats is a G, and that would be a very good pitch for you to set your drone to. If you have been watching many of my videos, you understand that I am not a strong advocate of using a tuner. I don't think you should use your eye to tell your ear what to do. Instead, I advocate using a drone or a sounding pitch that is constant so that your ear is the instrument used to make the adjustment in the music. So keeping the G droning through the music and on your screen now is a place where you can get the drones. Would be a good idea for tuning your notes and listening to that. So using the metronome and using a drone as a practice method for this solo will be very, very helpful. The next thing to pay very important attention to are all of the accents. Now, the accents in this composition I don't think should be played harshly. They instead should be played with weight on them, not sort of abruptly hit, but rather with some weight on them. I think that's more in line with the flavor of this composition. The fingering the high D flat, you may want to experiment with several fingerings there. I tend to use my standard fingering there, which is 1-3-1-3. But you may want to add the F key, or you may want to add the A flat key. Those fingerings can all help with the resonance of that note. The F key will, I find, make the fingering a little bit sharper, make the pitch a little bit sharper, but it does add increased resonance. However, on the downside of it, sometimes it doesn't articulate quite as well. So I go for the security of the fingering, one that will articulate well, that I know will be there at each time. Well, this is a difficult passage. And just as Bolero has a rhythmic background, something where you're being measured against, I also find in our lives that we're measured against things as well. So if you'd like to hear some more about spiritual matters and ways in which we're spiritually measured, then go to the next tape. Go to toread.net/measure. Thank you. Bye.